once I work out how to do the recording. Hello everyone, my name is Danny Chifley from the Community Broadcasting Association of Australia. Thank you so much for joining us here for this afternoon's webinar, the all-new radio website services. Before we get going, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we're broadcasting today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. And of course, we'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land of all of our guests who are attending here this evening. Please feel free to give a little bit of an acknowledgement to the traditional owners of your land in the instant message box. As stated, my name is Danny Chifley. This afternoon's webinar brought to you courtesy of the Community Broadcasting Association of Australia, and as always, with the wonderful support of our friends at the Community Media Training Organisation, cmto.org.au. If you want to find out more about all the wonderful training that you can undertake at your station, check on out their website, why don't you? Radio Website Services offers community broadcasters an affordable, attractive, mobile-friendly website. With more listeners looking to connect with their station on a digital front, now is the best time to establish your station in the online sphere. RWS, as we know it, makes it easy and affordable for CBAA member stations of all shapes and sizes to create and manage their very own station website. RWS, it's been around for a while, but it's been revamped for 2020 with all new features and functionality purpose-built for radio stations looking to engage on a greater level with their listeners. The new WordPress product places your audio streaming and content at its centre, along with social media integration and increasing community involvement and engagement. What we'll be talking about in this afternoon's webinar includes revolutionising your on-air identity, letting your listeners access your radio programs online and on demand, activating your fundraising platform, promoting your sponsors across your site as well as local community events, selling station merchandise and having the ability there to get paid online, and of course building your listener database to more deeply engage with your loyal listeners. So lucky to be joined this afternoon by my colleague Andrew Morris, who's the Manager of Online Product and Services at the CBAA, and most likely if you've called here about radio website services, you've spoken to Andy, and also his good friend, and someone who's been working with the CBAA in the community broadcasting sector for many, many years now, the wonderful Anthony Eden. So great to have them here. What I might do then is I will give the floor to you, Andrew Morris, if that's all right with you, sir.
Excellent. Thanks, Danny. Really appreciate it. And we'll get underway. Now, hopefully you can see me. Okay, so thanks, Danny, and thanks again for joining us today as we take you on a tour of, as Danny said, the new CBAA radio station website template, which is now available for community stations around Australia. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Joining us over the next 30 minutes will be Anthony Eden from Media Realm. Anthony's a software application developer and a website developer, and he's been part of the development team of the new CBAA product. Anthony and I worked at Sydney's Hope 103.2 for many years, and thanks for joining us today, Anthony, and for lending your expertise on this project. Our designer, Stu from Brand Meets Design, is unable to join us today, but we're grateful for the amount of time and effort and creativity that he's put into creating what we think is a really attractive radio station website template for your station. So over the next 30 minutes, we'll walk through the website and to give you an understanding of how it works and how you can use it for your radio station. In today's world, it's really important that we have a mobile responsive website, which is easy to use and navigate for your listeners, and easy to update and manage for you, your station, and your volunteers. Your radio station website in 2020 is a critical business tool, and it has to balance both the needs of your listeners, but also your own business goals. And that's the content that the listeners want to consume and find, but also your radio station business goals, the things that you want to achieve through your website online. No, it's pretty easy to, and straightforward to say that your listeners are accessing dozens of websites each day, whether it's watching Netflix on a mobile device or at home, listening to Spotify, doing banking transactions online with really easy to use online forms, Also downloading podcasts from Apple Podcasts and reading the latest news from ABC, Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, or whatever, as well as using social media. So they're really adept at using the latest technology. And so a lot's changed. Our current listeners are quite tech savvy. And so that's really important for us to have a website that they don't get frustrated with, that they can navigate easily around, that they can find the content they want to find, but also that you can then engage with them more deeply and also achieve your financial goals as well through online donations, merchandise, and things like that. So yeah, your listeners are spending a lot of time online, and we need to present something for them that they'll enjoy using. We've spent many hundreds of hours getting this website developed, and we're really pleased to show that to you. So now I'll just share our screen and introduce the website platform. So hopefully you can see that. I'll turn my video off. And there we have it. So this is the new CBAA website product. It's a template-based website. And we've discovered that in talking to lots of radio stations and managers of radio station websites over the years, that listeners do two things pretty much on all radio station websites. They want to listen to your radio station online, whether it's at work or on public transport, and they want to visit your homepage. And that's either to browse the homepage to see what's happening at your radio station, maybe to find a recently played song, an interview with a guest, a sponsor's details that they heard advertised on your station, or a local community event. And even during those June appeals and those specific radio campaigns and membership drives that you're doing, they obviously want to make an online donation to support their favourite radio station with as little barriers to make that donation as possible. And if we looked at your radio station website analytics, I'm sure we'd find some other top user tasks that are unique to your station, whether it's listening to a specific program on a program grid, or perhaps a particular news story or a news theme or a podcast that is specific to you that is popular. So in addition to what your listeners want, what are your business goals for your website? So in building this website, we've thought about what are the things that your community station needs to achieve in terms of revenue and other goals. So it might be to increase the number of online donations of your website from X amount to Y over the next 12 months. It might be to increase your email list of listener names from X to Y so you can more deeply engage with your listeners through regular email communication, newsletters, and take them on a journey where they get to know your station more and maybe over time want to become members, volunteers, or financial supporters of your radio station. That's two things so far that they may want to do. Now, it might not be financially related. It might be just accessing engaging content. You might want to have great content on your website, easy to read, easy to listen to, easy to find, and that's important to you as a business goal. Or perhaps sponsorship is important to you, and you want a sponsors directory or some online advertising that you can combine with an on-air sponsorship package and give a bit of extra to your sponsors to make them happy and feel good about supporting your station. So Anthony, I guess at this time, is there anything else that you would like to add about websites, radio station websites?
Yeah. So I guess there's a whole bunch of things that listeners can expect to do on our websites, and we've taken a lot of those on board when designing this new solution. So when thinking about radio station websites, you think about goals you can set around streaming listenership or podcasting or making on-demand audio accessible. And you can set goals around those sorts of things. And there's also you can possibly set goals around like mobile usage versus desktop. So some stations are seeing up to about 60% of their traffic on their website through mobile these days. So when we look at a website and how it's designed and built and the way we're organizing things, we need to think about how we can make the content really accessible, really easy to find across a lot of platforms, particularly mobile, since so many people are accessing our sites through those little devices and those little screens these days.
Cool. So as Anthony said, and Danny said, this is a WordPress product, and what we've done is create a theme, a radio station, community radio focused specific theme that sits on the WordPress platform. It's fully mobile responsive and it's been built to suit devices from a desktop, a tablet, to a mobile handheld device, and it will change as the device changes. And what we can show you here is if I stretch out the site, you'll see that that's a tablet view, and we move to a desktop view. And if we scroll back down again, you'll see everything sort of blending, and we'll get to a mobile view here. So it's easy to use, it's adaptable for the user, and it should be a pleasant experience. As I said, we've spent hundreds of hours working on this, and I hope you really, so far, like the look of it, and let's get into it. So let's firstly look at the theme and its flexibility. It's fully mobile responsive. It's hopefully a smooth, enjoyable experience, and it's important for your listeners, as they access it on mobile or desktop, that it's an easy transition. So, Anthony, do you want to explain the benefits of WordPress and perhaps the new features that make it really easy to use? There's a thing called blocks, and it makes managing your website really simple because basically a page is made of lots of different ingredients. And Anthony, perhaps you might want to just take us through the home page and just explain, I guess, how you've built it, and take it from the top, and let's move down.
Yeah, cool. So I'll just take over screen sharing for a moment here. As Andrew said, the sites are built on WordPress, and one of the big challenges we wanted to solve when building these sites is how can we make a really, really solid platform for lots of different sizes, to get the most out of the website and to be able to personalize it and make it their own, and just not have a cookie cutter approach. We want to provide sort of a framework for stations to use here. So what we've done here, you can see that the home page, and this is just an example. There's a number of components here, and each component we've referred to as a block. So on this page, we've got this header banner, which is one block. We've got this latest content section, which is another block. We've got a banner ad, which is a block. And we've got more content, which is a block. And then on every page, we've got a couple of key things like the header and the menu. And we've got this global player down the bottom, so you can listen to different stations. And we've got the footer as well. But what happens if you want to add something to this page or customize this page in some way? So we can jump in to the editor in WordPress. And if you've used WordPress in the last 12 months, you might have seen some of this already. If you haven't, then this could be new, but we think it's going to be a really great experience for anyone who's wanting to create a site for their radio station. So this editor basically is where we have our blocks. So you can see I've just highlighted this one here. This is a banner, and there's a bunch of settings that go into this banner. So we've exposed a bunch of common things people need. And each one of these blocks you can see down the page has its own set of settings. But what happens if we want to, for example, add a bunch of sponsor logos to the homepage? We might want to show off our sponsors, and not just through banner ads, but just having their logos and the details on the front page. So we've got a custom block. We've created, I think, 15 custom blocks so far that are specifically designed for radio stations and the needs of not-for-profits, particularly community radio stations. So we've got one here, which is called sponsor logos. We can drop that in here. We can say, I want 4 logos. Go and update this. And then when we jump back to the home page and refresh, down the bottom, we can see, oh, there's 3 beautiful sponsor logos. And there's a section in WordPress where you can go and set up your sponsors. And we might jump into this in a little more detail later. One example of how you can use blocks to I guess, get the most out of your website and customize it. So blocks are available on every single page on the website. There's a whole heap of different things you can do in terms of layout. You can drag and drop them and resize them and pick different colors from your palette. And as I said, there's about 15 that we've made. So there's a bunch of them. So there's banner ads, there's AMRAP pages functionality. There's a few different ways to feature content, banners, cards, and different content grids. There's ways you can embed biographies for presenters and volunteers. There's ways you can embed social media feeds, so you can have Facebook and Instagram and those sorts of things show up on your homepage or any page on your site. There's on-air guide, so that's another block, and there's 3 different layouts for that, so you can pick the one that you think will work best for your station. There's blocks to feature on-demand audio content. So if you use a system such as Pulse, then you can load in that, or automatically have that content come in and feature the audio so people can listen to it. You can have music playlists, so people can go and search for the music played on your station at a certain time. There's a shopping cart, there's sponsor logos, and a booking system. Plus, there's a whole bunch already built into WordPress that we didn't have to do, didn't have to build ourselves. So if you use YouTube or SoundCloud, for example, there's already blocks built in to embed content from those sites. And there's photo galleries and buttons and banners and widgets and columns and all sorts of other things that are really easy to just drag and drop and load onto a website. Onto one of these websites.
Cool. Well, why don't we have a look at the homepage, and we'll work our way down from the top to the bottom, and we can explain all the different functionalities. So I'll take over the screen, Anthony, and if you want to just drop in and provide some insights as we go. But okay, so top of the homepage, we've got the top bar here, which is a social bar. And if you didn't see talking to Andrew Morris there, you'd see some social icons there. Now, if you take NRN News, coming soon, we'll have news headlines appearing in this blue area here, and they'll just scroll through the latest headlines. That's coming in the next few months. Underneath the blue bar, we've got the main navigation. And as you can see, there's room to put some key navigation here on the white. You've got your core important things, like listening or donating. It could be subscribe, it could become a member, it could be another item. And also you've got your search option there as well. If we move over to here, you've got your station logo, which is also your home button, which will also always return you back to the home screen. And what we've done is a mega menu. And the mega menu really is a great feature. It makes locating information really simple. And just as an example, you can have your program guide and the different ways to access your station, access to podcasts and programs. If you have a playout system, as Anthony mentioned, you can then have a thing such as Song Finder or Song History, which is connected to your digital audio playout system. Things like About. You can create this menu system yourself. You can order the things that are important to you. And you can, it's all very straightforward. You will receive a manual, a how-to guide when you come on board, which will explain how to add pages, how to add blocks to pages, how to add menu structure and all that kind of stuff. It will be all explained step by step for you. But as you can see here, this is the mega menu. You can have 4 across and another row starting below. And we'll come back to some of the functionality that you can see here in a moment. Going back to the homepage, as Anthony said, this is your key hero image, which over soon will have a carousel, so you'll be able to have multiple slides going across here. But this is obviously featuring the key important things happening at your station. In this case, it could be a breakfast show, tuning into these guys of a morning. Now, after that, we could, as Anthony said, place another set of blocks. In this case, it's maybe latest news. And this is highly flexible. We can see there, again, banner ads. in terms of banner ads, you can use the default banner ad server here, or if you use Google Ad Manager, again, you just put in your Google Ad Manager ID and set up the zones, and you can be pasting different banner ads, all different sizes, across the site. Again, you can have another series of information down here. Yeah. And as Anthony just put here, sponsors, and again, we could put a title just above this block saying station sponsors, thank you, or whatever, to give it a heading. Down below here, we've got the footer. Again, access to all the navigation, policies and procedures, a contact form. Again, your access to socials, which is in your mega menu, an area where you can subscribe to your newsletter. A number of stations have expressed having an acknowledgement of country, so we've included that as default. This is pretty much a default acknowledgement of country, but if you've got a specific one for your region, it's easy to add and put it there as well. And then right at the bottom, we've got our audio player, global audio player. So wherever you put audio, whether it's on demand, on a page or a post, or whether it's a stream, it is all played from here. So as you can see here, we've got your station and we've got national news here as well. And if you're an NRN client, you can have the latest bulletin here and access and listen to the last hour's bulletin from this player. So just coming across the bottom here, it's showing you the program now playing. The second spot is the song which is now playing. And the third area is the next program coming up, and we can see that it's coming up in 38 minutes and it's counting down. So it's just a matter of hitting play here. We've got volume. We have volume there, and we can also access the program guide. And the program guide, you click there. And in this case, this is, as Anthony mentioned, one of 3 different program guides available. You can have your traditional grid, but we've created 2 different program guides. It lands on the day and the program usually that is on air, and you can go through the days. There is the option of having a toggle switch, which would then swap you to the traditional grid. But as you can see, each program is featured across the day. Now that can be powered by AMRAP pages, and it can also be powered by Meta Radio's own program grid, which comes as a default for this program of this product. And Anthony will tell you about Meta Radio in a tick, but I'll show you what a show page can look like. So let's say we click on the Arabic radio show, and this is what the program page would look like. And again, it can be whatever you want it to look like, but you've got a hero image here. You've got a subtitle excerpt here where you can say a few things. Then you've got your show presenter bios here. And again, these are blocks. You just drag them in and fill them out. And we can see the hosts here with their access to their socials. We can have a block of text here that talks about what the program is. Or we could have a block of articles that these guys have written about interviews that they've had, some of the music featured on this Cummings program. They could be posts, and we could have them here. We could have sponsors, and then we could have, if you have on demand, you could have your previously played shows here for your listeners to access past shows. And again, you play here and they appear here in the global player. That's just some of the functionality. Again, how you want to make your show page, we can recommend what it could look like, but it's really up to you and your imagination of what you want on your show page. So one of the key features here is Meta Radio, and that's the ability to connect your digital playout system. Now, if you don't have a playout system, perhaps you're considering one. Anthony, do you want to just briefly talk about the Meta Radio and what it does?
Yeah, for sure. So I might just share my screen again. Just jump back here. So Meta Radio is basically a product that I've had around for a couple of years that was designed particularly for the needs of community radio. You can think of it as a bit of middleware. So it allows you to connect a bunch of different radio automation systems to a bunch of other platforms. So WordPress being one of them. So when we look at the websites and we see the song data down here in the global player, that is coming from an automation system at the station. And it's going into the website via MetaRadio, which is a bit of middleware. So I can go to the song history page, and it gives me a history of everything that's played on this station, or every song that's played on this station. Now, this does rely on you having the metadata set up properly in your automation system. So if you've just got random names, then that might not look so good. But if you've got the data in there properly, and you've got one of the systems, if there's quite a few, there's more on the way, then as part of the radio website service, you get access to MetaRadio, so you can go and connect your automation system to the website. You can also send it to RDS or TuneIn or a whole bunch of other platforms that your station might use. And that's just kind of a little added bonus that you get as part of being on the platform. Yeah, so MetaRadio is essentially a way of connecting automation systems into WordPress. But as Andrew mentioned, another feature of it is the program guide. So this guide here is coming from AMRAP Pages, which is a fully integrated option on these sites. But if you don't have AMRAP Pages, you can jump into the program guide within WordPress and go and set up your grid, set up the shows, say what time they start and end, and then they can display on the website here. So we've got options for stations depending on what systems you already have, and depending on what your specific needs are. We've tried to cater for that and make it easy to use and get as much functionality in there as possible. And as Andrew said, in the player down the bottom here, there's also national radio news. You can also have on-demand content from across the site. So if you use Pulse or one of the other on-demand systems, that will just show up in this player when you hit the play button. Someone asked, is this HTML5? Yes, it is. Does it keep playing across pages? Yes, it does. So we've tried to account for a lot of those different use cases and come up with a nice, robust solution for stations.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to some other areas of functionality, Anthony. And I guess we'll go back up to the top of the page. And one of those key things is the ability to make online payments, whether that is membership, whether that is a donation, or maybe a subscription, depending on what you call it, donor or subscription drive. So what we've done is if you have got DGR, tax deductibility status, then you have the opportunity to plug directly straight to the Give Easy platform, which gives you lots of tools and tricks in terms of personalization of emails to donors and stuff. And this is an example of the Give Easy platform and their donation page. And you can see, yeah, you've got your image, you've got your fields to make a donation, and a blurb about the appeal. Now, if you're doing a different kind of campaign, you can have timers here that count down and a thermometer, which tells you how far you're away from achieving your goal. So this is a great platform for stations with tax deductibility. There's the ability to also use SMS to give for your donors and your listeners. If you don't have tax deductibility and DGR status, then we have a fallback position for donation pages. And it's a very straightforward, simple donation platform. And so that's what you're seeing here. Again, you can put an imagery up the top here, your case messaging on the side. Again, this can be used for membership or subscriptions, drives, or one-off donation kind of things, or as it says here, recurring monthly gifts. So you can choose the amount you want to give. You can put another amount in here. You put your details in, credit card details, and hit donate. It's a very simple, well-proven and well-tested method for giving a secure online donation, and could be a real asset for your station in terms of driving revenue. And you can apply that for membership and any other kind of online payments that you want to make as well. That's the donation page. We've also got a merchandise. If your station is selling t-shirts and other bits and pieces, mugs, all that kind of stuff, you can actually have an online store. Now, this is not WooCommerce. We've made the decision to make it as simple as possible. And so we've used the Gravity Forms e-commerce plugin for this. It's very simple to use. If we just come down here, we've got product 1, we add it to the cart. We can continue shopping, or we can go to the checkout. And we can get to a summary of our products. We can see quantity, we can change the quantity. We'll get, in terms of shipping, we've got some suggestions on how you deal with shipping. Usually it's probably best to either have a flat shipping fee or incorporate it into the cost of your product and then offer free shipping. Anyway, so this is the basic shopping cart. It works really well. Now, with the online form for making donations and this e-commerce form for making purchases of products, you need to connect to either Stripe, eWay, or SecurePay. And they have really competitive prices for that, but that will allow you to take online payments, and they'll be then go through those third parties, Stripe, eWay, or SecurePay. They offer fraud protection, high levels of fraud protection, and then they will go, those amounts will go into your bank account. So it's a very straightforward, and it's a great way to try and increase revenue for your community station. Anthony, is there anything that you want to mention in regards to online payments and secure gateways and stuff?
Yeah, just that we've picked 3 gateways that are pretty popular in Australia. Between Stripe, eWay, and SecurePay, that accounts for a pretty high proportion of online payments in Australia, and it addresses various security and compliance requirements, anti-fraud requirements, all those sorts of things. So we really recommend those 3 gateways if you're using the on-site on-site payment forms. You can also have membership forms and those sorts of things on the site, also using the payment gateway. So if you want to accept membership payments, we've got functionality for that out of the box that's available for you to use that covers most membership and subscription scenarios.
Great. So while we're talking about forms, we use Gravity Forms, and if we look for contact, and again, this menu structure is just what we've created. We can recommend how to structure your pages and your navigation, but you have complete flexibility in what you call your page headings, how you lay all this out. It's very easy to move things around. There's a lot of flexibility. Gravity Forms is what we use for forms, and in terms of contact, again, it's a really cool feature to have, rather than have email addresses and forms all over your page, have them just on the one contact page, and you can add as many inquiry fields or inquiry subjects as you like, and they can be directed to specific email addresses within your organisation. So it's a really neat way of having one online form, but you can use Gravity Forms for competitions, and you could create a win page and then say, hey, if you want to win the latest Disney album, sign up and for your chance to win, or movie tickets, whatever. It's a really simple way to create online forms for that as well. Now, one feature that we loved at Hope 1032 was 2 different directories, and we've placed them under community, and that's the community notice board. Community notice board, you may at your station have read out local community events. Well, we found a great resource. By having this community events page on our website, we were getting heaps of local not-for-profits and charities and different community organisations wanting to promote their events. Now, if we couldn't find time on air to promote them, they could always be featured here on the website. So we've just got an example of 3 different community groups, whether it's a market, a workshop, or a musical. And you've got the ability to place some images, give it a title, give it a description, the event date, the website, the email address for the person that needs to be contacted if there's inquiries, and the address of the location. And we will be adding Google Maps hyperlink as well. So if you've got a mobile device, you can click on it and it'll give you directions to that place. But this is Community Notice Board. It's a great feature. And if you don't already promote an hourly kind of community notice board on your on-air product, then this is a great way for feeding content to on-air, because you can just schedule different community announcements each hour of the day for your announcers to read. It's a great tie-in back and forth on-air, back to the website, and you can promote it on-air. Visit the website for more details, vice versa. You could even get this sponsored. So Community Notice Board brought to you by David Jones Electricians. And yeah, all that kind of stuff.
And just to jump in there, Andrew, we've got really easy functionality for people to submit their events as well. So it's all handled within WordPress. So you don't need to double handle the information. What people submit here is immediately put into WordPress as a draft post, and a user is notified, so they can go and approve it or edit it, fix up spelling, whatever, and make it appear straight on the website with very little fuss.
Yeah, so it's a really neat function and a really great piece of kit to help your station. The other function, which is great if you're in sponsorship and you want to give that little bit of extra love to your sponsors, it's the local business directory. So yeah, we've got banner advertising right across the site, and you can choose to sell that to sponsors as a separate package to perhaps your on-air sponsorship. But this is another tool where, you know, if they sponsor on air, maybe give them a listing on your directory. So listeners who hear the ad on air can come to the site and find out some more information. And so this is an example where you can put the business logo, their title, their business there, description of what their business offers, their website, their address, their phone number, and again, we'll have the Google Map link so they can get to, users can get to their business as well. But the business directory is a great add-on. Businesses love it. They love being on air and then having a nice business directory. And it's just a matter of getting a logo, shaping it to the right size, and you're off. It's a great tool, and it's a great business ad when you're selling sponsorship as well. All right, so we've looked at the banner advertising, and again, across the site, you can, depending on whether it's a tablet, a desktop or a mobile, will determine how it shows the ad. For desktop, I've only got one size ad for this client, so it's only showing the medium rectangle. These banner ad sizes are recognised by industry standards, so if you get banner ads from government agencies or not-for-profits, you can be assured that if they give you the correct super leader, or medium rectangle sizes, that they'll fit your site. And you can place these ads anywhere across your site, and as many, you could distribute them across pieces of content on one page as well. Okay, so we've looked at the online store. As Anthony said, we've made some extra plugins. If you've got events and concerts and perhaps the functionality for the online store doesn't meet exactly the requirements you need for concerts, then there is a plugin for Try Booking, which you can plug into the site and manage concerts and through the Try Booking plugin, which is quite a neat functionality as well. If you've got studios for hire, there is an online booking form, and you can have people reserve either equipment or studios. So you can, again, add the resource, and then you can book the date of when, if it's a volunteer, they would like to access it. They can put in the date, move on to the next screen. That's because it's in the past. Let's move future. Book the time and so on. It's a booking form, and that's a great way for making reservations for your station resources. Someone will have to manage that and just make a booking of just notifying that, you know, that piece of equipment or that studio is booked at a particular time. But again, some of this functionality will improve over time as well when we find that there's an extra need for it.
And sorry, just to jump in on the bookings, it
Sure.
does handle like overlap, so it won't allow two different people to book the same time period or
Great.
overlapping time periods. And there is a screen that I've been building, but it's not on this demo site at the moment, which actually shows you a little grid for the day, so you can see when the studios are booked, and you can maybe put that on a little computer screen in the station so everyone can see the bookings for all the different resources on any given day, so they know who's allowed to be in what room and when.
It's awesome. Thanks, Anthony. Anthony also mentioned social media posts. Now, if you're wanting to share your posts, we found the most, probably the most attractive way of getting your posts into a page is through a social media aggregator, which is called Curator. It's free to sign up, and it looks really neat. And you can actually choose all the different feeds. This is just Facebook, but you can add Instagram, Twitter, a heap of different social media feeds. You can decide how you want it laid out. We've just done the waterfall functionality here, but I think it's a really great way to get your social posts on your website in one place. And yeah, we'll love social, and it's a great way on a phone to be browsing that as well. It looks really nice. And again, rather than doing it ourselves, we suggest using Curator. We've created a plugin, which again is a block. You just drop it into the page, write a little bit of text at the top, and it will just keep updating every post that's added to social media will come onto your website. It's a very cool piece of functionality. So that's the social media wall. I'm just having a look. I think that's pretty much all the different bits of functionality that we've got available. We've looked at the program guides. We've looked at the show page. Perhaps we can show you what a post looks like. So let's say we'll go to this post here. This is a dude. He's promoting his radio show. We can see when it was written, the headline, the categories, and who the author was. So we've got a bit of a blurb and text. We can add photos with captions. We can add videos. I'll just show you another one with Crowded House, which is here. So again, nice big hero image, heading, some text. We can drop audio, we can drop YouTube. We can add some links. We can, yeah, really, there's all the access, all the tools that WordPress provides, plus all the extra elements that Anthony and our designer have developed that is radio specific. So you can put on-demand audio here. Perhaps you've interviewed Neil Finn in the past. You could drop that piece of audio in here, and again, it will play through the audio global player. There's a lot of flexibility. This is a 2-column post. You've got column 1 here. You've got your sponsors. You could also add another piece of information here, perhaps a newsletter sign up. Yeah, it's in the footer, but you might want to have it more active here on the side. So sign up to our latest newsletter for the latest news about shows and music news, or station news. We could have that there as well. Just having a look to see if there's any other bits of functionality here that you might want to see. What we've got here is block quotes. Again, you can pull out a key quote from an interview or a guest. It's pretty big, it's in your face. But that's a block quote, again, text. I don't know, Anthony, is there anything else? I guess if you're feeling that the images are really huge on your screen, we actually do have some buttons that you can press which bring this image in and creates a margin on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So it makes this hero image right across the site smaller. And so when you get to a large desktop, you can control the width of this image so it doesn't become so huge, it's overbearing. So we've added some customization to put limits on the size of this image depending on the screen size. So I think that's pretty much what I want to talk about in terms of functionality. There's heaps of things. We can have a one-on-one with you if you're interested and go through this on an individual basis. I guess you're probably interested in what the cost of this is all involved. I can say that we've kept this at the regular price. So we haven't wanted to increase the price of this product. So we've kept it at $1,500 plus GST for all this functionality that you've seen today. This is all regarded as standard functionality. It includes all the features that we've seen. It includes 2 hours of pre-launch technical support and 30 days of warranty to cover any bugs that come up in that first 30 days of launch. In addition to the build, because we are concerned and we want to have ensure that the pain of maintaining a website is off your shoulders, we can look after that. We are hosting it, and we're hosting it on one of Australia's leading hosting platforms. And that, for a small station, is $50 per month for an 18-month commitment. And with that $50 a month for a small station, you'll get all your WordPress core updates done and the plugins tested and pushed live each month. So we're making sure that it's up. There's also full recovery of your site. It's backed up each day. Should your site be broken and need to be restored, it's just a matter of quickly going back to the previous backup and pushing it through, and you'll get your website back up very quickly. So it's $1,500 plus GST, $50 a month for small sites. If you're a larger station with a lot more page views and a lot more traffic, then we would just have to do some calculations. So we just price the hosting that's correct for you. Large stations obviously have a lot more bandwidth usage, and so we just need to make sure that the pricing is correct for stations. In addition, any additional charges would be for unique customization. Any extra features that you want that is not included in the standard package, we would quote for you. Also, content migration. If you have a lot of content on your current site, we would just do a review of that site and give you a quote as to the cost of bringing across all that content onto the new site. And then there's the question of ongoing support. So we are looking at providing ongoing support in case you need content added or removed, or there's some bugs that happen after the warranty period which are out of our control and your control but need to be fixed. Then that's where website support blocks come in to play, and you can purchase them at intervals of 5 hours or 10 hours. It's cheaper than doing it per hour. We don't expect there to be lots of issues with ongoing support, but you never know. Things happen that are out of our control and also the control of yourself, and that's what support packages do. They cover those incidences, but we don't expect that to happen too often. As I said, the commitment's for an 18-month commitment. And during that time, as we find and talk to you guys and you say, hey, what about this functionality? What about this feature? The great thing is we'll look at it. And then once we add new functionality, everybody on the platform receives that extra functionality, which is a great thing. So whether it's an improvement in an online donation form or an improvement on some other device or functionality, that will be pushed across for all stations. So there's the benefit of being as a group. We all benefit from improvements to this template. So I think that's pretty much from my perspective. Anthony, if there's anything that you want to jump in and say, please go ahead. But
yeah,
thanks for joining us.
I think that's covered a lot of it. There's a lot of questions coming in on the Q&A that I've been sort of trying to answer as we go, but maybe if we start moving over to that.
Okay, so we've got 10 minutes left, so let's get into the Q&A. And Danny, do you want to take over with the Q&A?
Indeed, we've got a few questions in there open at the moment. Nick Brown from Alpine Radio asks, we have a CBAA website now, or an RWS website. Can we transition easily to the new platform? Can we, as non-tech people, easily use the new website and update it ourselves, which I feel is a resounding yes for everything you displayed this afternoon. And if we decide to go to the new website, will CBAA maintain our current site and help facilities?
Okay, so I think I did cover some of those questions. The transition will be reasonably straightforward. If Alpine Radio has a massive amount of content, then we probably just have to have a look. But I would imagine that more than likely we could transition and move that content across quite easily without much fuss. In terms of managing it, we'll manage the hosting of it, ensuring that uptime is up 99% of times. We've got security measures for, preventing a lot of spam and obviously hacking kind of stuff. We can only do so much. If someone's determined to hack a site, they'll hack a site, but we have functionality and bits and pieces in place to protect your site. And as I mentioned, we don't envisage too many problems from our end coming up in terms of bugs and issues. But like all web designers and developers, there is a cost to ongoing support for your website. Should you call up and say, I need help to do this, or I need help to do that. If it's like a 5-minute fix, then hey, that's easy. If it requires more time, then we would say, hey, Alpine Radio, this is going to take a little longer than a 5-minute job. We'll come back to you with a quote. And that's how the benefit of having a 5-hour block of time up your sleeve, can help with that. But we built this site to be easy to use for volunteers and staff, clean for users, for listeners to access, and with functionality that, stations are paying easily $50,000 for. So you're getting for $1,500 plus hosting, a site that is easily worth in excess of $40,000, $50,000. And that's from our heart, from our background. We want community radio to be up there with the best radio station websites, so you can engage with your listeners as they expect it in 2020. So I think this is a great thing, and I hope I answered your questions, Alpine Radio.
Thank you so much for that. Linda Parkinson asked, is there a member login function?
Yeah, okay, so in terms, you will have full access to the dashboard of your site, and you will be able to set permission levels. If you want volunteers only to create drafts of stories, then you can set the permission levels so that Andrew, who is a volunteer or is the host of a particular show, can create stories for his particular show, but he can't actually publish them, or he can publish them. So there's a lot of permission levels that you can actually assign to volunteers and staff. So there's a great depth to permission.
Yeah, you can also set up users that don't have any permission to publish content or create content, but are able to view special protected content. So you could create a page that has, I don't know, information on how to use the studio or something. And you could set that up as a private page so that only people you've given the logon to are able to access that page. So hopefully that answers your question, Linda.
Thank you for that. There's a few people asking Neil Ashworth, Graham Wilson and Craig Wright all about the $1,500 setup fee. So it's the $1,500 setup fee, and it's once off. Anthony has answered there in the webinar chat. Does that require any further illustration there, Anthony?
No, it's a one-off $1,500 website build, and then it's the ongoing web hosting, which is from $50. And I would imagine most small community stations will be paying $50. It's really only the large cap city stations with large bandwidth and page views that we would probably just need to check their page analytics and just make sure that they're paying the correct hosting fee for that.
Excellent. On the topic of hosting, Richard Shearer and Craig Wright have questions there in that regard. Richard asks, what about self-hosting, for example, on an existing host? And Craig asks, how does the CBAA hosting impact / complement our existing host platform / supplier?
Okay, so I'll start and Anthony can explain some further technical issues. So this is a package where we are hosting the site, and we want to do that because a lot of stations can't actually, it's a pain, it's a difficulty to manage all the different elements of hosting a website. And we want to maintain the integrity and the quality and the stability of the website. So we've made a determination that we would like, and we're going to host the sites, and so we can then save stations by doing all the updates at one time, testing them before they go live to make sure that they don't break the site, and then pushing them live all together. So that's the decision we've made, to host it as well. And that commitment, we will host it for 18 months, after which, if you want to then go and host it yourself, you'll be free to do that. Anthony, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah. So just to I guess expand on what Andrew said, we are basically keeping it all on the one platform because we want to be able to make sure the site is delivered consistently, and we're able to deliver bug fixes and updates, security patches, all those sorts of things, with minimal fuss. So we've set aside time on a regular basis to make sure that we're testing all the updates, pushing them out. And if everyone was on different web hosts, that would significantly increase the time required each month to go and do that. But it would also significantly increase the complexity of the setup, and it would create inconsistencies in the platform that we wouldn't be able to support. So that's why we've opted for the first 18 months as a minimum. It's hosted on our platform. After that, you can choose to take the site and host it yourself with our blessing, or we will keep hosting it for as long as you want us to, and keep paying the $50 a month.
Awesome.
And over time, we'll continue to modify and enhance things as well.
Of course. Yep.
Beautiful. Neil Ashworth asks, how long will support for the existing AWS last?
Okay, so what we're going to be doing with the Weebly sites and the WordPress sites, we will be transitioning and encouraging current stations to come across to this new platform. And we'll give you a number of months' time, a number of months advance warning, so you can prepare yourself to then be managing your own websites if you don't want to come across to this platform. So we'll give you fair warning, at least 2 months warning as to when that will occur.
Awesome. There's a question there from Neil as well. Does the hosting include email? I'm assuming he's sort of meaning email addresses that are synced in with the site.
Okay, so Anthony can answer this, but I can answer it firstly. We are not looking after email for stations. It's a complex, potentially complex and costly, and would blow the monthly cost for stations out. It would make it more expensive, which we're trying to keep the price as low as possible.
Yeah, so just to add to that, so we supply the hosting for the website, and we supply DNS and CDN and a WAF through Cloudflare. If you know what that means, great. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. We'll look after it for you. Email, we really want you to go with something that is best of breed, and we don't feel like we're in the best position to do that. For email, we would recommend you look at a free G Suite account through Connecting Up. You can get not-for-profit rates on that, and the same goes for Office 365. There's not-for-profit rates available, which I believe have started free. Like most stations would probably be well suited with the free Google or Microsoft email hosting solutions. So that's sort of why we've chosen to stay away from hosting the email as part of this system.
Excellent. And I should also point out too that a lot of these answers to the questions that Anthony and Andy are supplying to us, we will include that as part of all the registrants for this afternoon's webinar. We'll receive a follow-up email with links to stuff that we've talked about, links to a recording of the webinar. I will also liaise with our presenters and make sure that I'm sending on information in regards to the fine email services that Anthony mentioned just now. So we're about 2 minutes to go. There's still a few questions coming through. Tony Briscoe asks, will you be supplying information and stories that individual stations can upload to their own sites if relevant?
Okay, so the plan is that if you're an NRN client and take the NRN news, in the coming months, there will be an online journalist pushing stories through to station websites. So they can either be published automatically or they'll be appearing in posts as drafts, which you then just click and approve and publish yourself. That's NRN news content coming in the next few months. We're talking with AMRAP or AirIt to integrate music stories from the AirIt website onto this platform as well. Cool. And I mean, in terms of dreams and ambitions, we would like, also we're potentially talking to some third-party journalism websites and being able to push their content onto your website as well. So yeah, there is some opportunities to have third-party content pushed to your website, either automatically published or you go in the back end and approve the stories that you wish to publish.
Further to that, Laurie McLean asks that, where did your question go, Laurie? It just sort of seemed to disappear from me for a second. It was about...
sorry, I just answered that.
Oh, you answered it because it was... that's why it's disappeared. And so the reporting thing is a possibility then, Anthony?
So you can continue to use AMRAP pages to do all your music reporting if you wish, and it's fully integrated with the website. If you link your automation system to push the songs through, currently there isn't a full local content report, although that's something we could probably chat about and look into adding.
Excellent. I've also, because it's at 3 o'clock, I've put my email address there into the instant message chat box. If we've missed any of the answers to these questions, because a lot of the questions that were coming through, people were sort of asking different sides of similar questions. Hopefully we've sorted all that out, but I understand that Anthony and Andrew's time is valuable and I should let them get back to their normal life. But if there's any burning questions that we missed, deanshifley@cbaa.org.au. Send me those questions to that address. And all the questions that we have answered, the answers that were provided, we will provide further information in regards to the follow-up that will be arriving in your inbox shortly, depending on how long it takes me to render the video for this afternoon. And also, I would advise you to sort of have a look at the Q&A chat box there, because as we were conducting our webinar this afternoon, Anthony Eden was in there answering all sorts of questions. For example, Steve Holland asked, how do you deal with DDoS and brute force attacks? Anthony said all sites sit behind Cloudflare, so there's very comprehensive WAF and anti-DDoS functionality. To which Steve Holland replied, awesome.
Excellent. I've got to, because this is all very new, I need to update the CBAA website with all this new information. So if you visit the CBAA website at the moment, it is old information which is no longer relevant. So please, if you've got questions, you can direct them to Danny or myself, and yeah, happy to do one-on-one walkthroughs with the website to discuss how it could work for you as well.
Awesome. And with that, we'll have to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for everyone who attended here this afternoon. We had a really lovely turnout. A great many numbers of people who are joining us here this afternoon. Just wonderful to have you here. All of the questions that we weren't able to answer, we will do our very best to answer them as part of the follow-up that we'll have for you. My email address is once again there in the instant message chat box, so please feel free to get in touch with me in regards to this afternoon's webinar, and indeed everything else. When you finish this afternoon's session, you will be confronted on your internet browser with calls for webinar feedback. Just let us know how you enjoyed this afternoon's session, and also topics that you'd like us to cover in the future. Speaking of which, 2 next webinars are going to be Tuesday, 24th of March at 2 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, your guide to the Volunteering Victoria Volunteer Management Toolkit. You might be aware of the Volunteer Management Toolkit. Volunteering Victoria are very much one of the forefront there of trying to assist and refine volunteer practices in the nation. Their Volunteer Management Toolkit is an absolutely wonderful resource. All stations are always talking to us about how they want to find ways to attract and retain volunteers at their station. Volunteer Victoria are your people. We're going to have a representative, Sarah from Volunteering Victoria, is going to join us, go through that Volunteer Management Toolkit. More music, more knowledge, more connections with the new AMRAP AirIt site on 2 p.m. Tuesday, 14th of April 2020. That is going to be another fantastic session. AMRAP AirIt, of course, radio website services for your website. AMRAP AirIt for how you can engage with musicians and your listeners. Andrew Kaduri from AMRAP will be leading up that one. I believe Lachlan Wiley from AMRAP's going to be there as well. He could be the comic relief. They might sort of do a 1-2 combo thing, a bit of the Danny Glover, Mel Gibson gear if you're of that vintage and you understand that reference. You'll also note that with both of those webinars, 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. We're moving our webinars to a Tuesday. That's my fault. I hope that's not going to be a problem for anyone. If it is going to be a problem for anyone, dchifley@cbaa.org.au. Please get in touch with me. Love to talk to you all. Thank you to Anthony. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to Michaela from the Community Media Training Organisation, cmto.org.au, supporters of our webinars, and just really, really wonderful folks. And thank you, our wonderful community broadcasters, for coming here this afternoon. I certainly hope that when I'm clicking onto the internet in the next little while and checking out all of your websites, that they are part of the all-new radio website services. Thanks very much, everyone, for attending. My name's Danny Chifley. This has been the latest in our series of CBAA webinars brought to you with the support of the CMTO. Don't forget to fill in that feedback. We will see you all very, very soon. Bye now.